बावरा मन देखने चला एक सपना, बावरा मन देखने चला एक सपना, बावरे से मन की देखो बावरी है बातें, बावरे से मन की देखो बावरी है बातें, बावरे से धड़कने हैं बावरे है सांसें, बावरे से करवटों से निंदिया दूर भागे, बावरे से नैन चाहे बावरे झरोकों से, बावरे नज़ारों को तकना, बावरा मन देखने चला एक सपना।
I think growing up has a lot to do with being in West Delhi because that was where I grew up. But as such, I always thought that the K part of me lives either in Connaught Place or in South Delhi. Because as someone younger or even as someone who is at this age, I can't find any of those places around in West Delhi or in any other part of Delhi apart from Connaught Place or South Delhi. So I always feel like I'm living some part of my life taking metro trips to Connaught Place or to South Delhi to go to these events and have meetings. It had a chaat pakodi wala, you go eat, and your local stationery shop, your local shop where you go and buy clothes. But if you are gay, you have to go to South Delhi or come to Connaught Place to see people, attend events. If we were to create all these NGOs and office spaces in West Delhi, probably West Delhi would be the next hub of the city.
I was married for almost 10 years, and I married the person I loved at some point when I was asked to have a baby. And then, reality sank in and things happened that I realized, like, okay, this is not what I want from life. Before moving to Delhi, I was in Chicago. I lived in Chicago for like 6-7 years. Since 2003 on and off. After I left the marriage, I came to Delhi for work.
It was 1998, late 1998, around my birthday. It was for very mundane reasons of I was studying. I came here to study software programming. I was a journalist in Bombay, and the company I was working for was doing very badly. And I was very shocked because I was 22, 23, and people much older than me, like in their 40s, which seemed very old then, were not being paid their salaries. I was very shocked by that, so I thought I should not be in this field. So I came to Delhi, studied software programming for 2 years, and then I immediately became a journalist again. But that's why I came here. Very mundane reason.
कॉलेज में ही जो हमारी सीनियर थे वो दिल्ली से थी, और उन्होंने वो बिल्कुल मेरी तरह ही, जब मैंने उनको फर्स्ट टाइम देखा मैंने कहा अरे ये तो बिल्कुल मेरे जैसी ही है. बिल्कुल लंबी और खूब लंबी चौड़ी और एकदम फिजिक बहुत मस्त, उनका चाल ढाल सब कुछ मेरे जैसा। तो मुझे लगता था कि यार एटलीस्ट इतने सालों के बाद कोई ऐसा मिला जो मेरे जैसा है, क्योंकि वो उनकी नज़र मुझ पे नहीं जाती थी, लेकिन मैं कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे कोशिश करते रहती थी कि वो उनकी नज़र मुझ पे जाए, वो मुझसे कुछ बात करें, कुछ मुझसे पूछें। इवन जब रैगिंग हो रही थी तो मैंने आई वॉज द वन जो रैगिंग देने के लिए बहुत उतावले हो रहे थे कि यार मेरी रैगिंग ले लो, एटलीस्ट तुम मुझे पहचानोगे तो सही, बात तो करोगे। उनसे बात हुई और काफ़ी बात हुई। उन्होंने रैगिंग के टाइम पे भी मुझसे काफ़ी सारे सवाल पूछ लिए, जिससे उन्हें क्लियर हो गया कि हाँ ये भी मतलब ऐसा बंदे जो लोग थोड़े लड़कों की तरह रहते हैं। तो उन्होंने मुझे फर्स्ट टाइम बोला भी था कि यार तू तो मेरी जैसे ही है, हम दोनों तो हमारी तो बहुत अच्छी पटेगी एंड ऑल दिस। तो उन्होंने मुझसे पूछा था कि तुझे कुछ पता है तेरे बारे में, क्या है तू? तो मैंने कहा मैं तो ऐसे ही हूँ, मैं तो बचपन से ऐसे ही हूँ, मम्मी पापा ने मुझे ऐसे ही रखा है इसलिए मैं ऐसे ही हूँ। लेकिन तब ये नहीं पता था कि मैं ऐसे क्यों हूँ।
Gay is one syllable. That is helpful. Queer has turned into queer theory, but I also use that. Lesbian, I'm also comfortable with, but in case you look at the way these sentences are framed, I'm gay and I'm a lesbian, the thingification of being a lesbian as opposed to I'm gay, that has always been problematic because being anything is problematic, but I'm comfortable with lesbian, I'm comfortable with gay. Gay has one syllable. It is quicker to say, much neater cut. And no, there is no particular reason. I think occasionally I like to dwell on the I'm gay versus the I'm a lesbian. No, but these are three words that I feel comfortable with and use interchangeably.
When I joined an engineering college, I had my own ideas about coming out or being out when I was 30 or something. So I was just taking in the atmosphere around me, and I think I had my share of struggles. By the second year, when it became quite clear that I will want to come out in this space, and no matter at what age I was, I really wanted to come out to some people. I wanted to be in a space which accepted my sexuality. I wanted my friends to know about it. It was then when I started to battle with the not just hostility but the kind of indifference. So I wouldn't say that I heard gay bashing or anything of that sort. It's again stereotypical, but gay men jokes are quite popular on Indian engineering campuses. So there was all that sort of thing, and I was the only one who would stand up and tell people and get defensive and say that this is not how you joke. The people who are actually gay live a very difficult lives, and you should not be joking about it. And then my friends would say, why do you get all worked up? It's just a joke, take it that way. So this was how I began to struggle with it. And eventually I think it was less of queer friendliness. Queer friendliness I don't think is still around. It was more because I built my relationships with people, and then I felt like I could create a space where I could come out to them. So I had this one best friend, and I had a couple of guys that I was close to, and I came out to them. But at least the fact that some close friends knew about me and we were able to discuss it at some level gave me a big relief, and at that was the point I really started belonging to the place that I studied.
Nobody I could identify with. The world existed, the books existed. When you're a bumbling 15-year-old and you're basically trying to feel these things out and just be like, I like boys. I must like boys. I mean, that's the only thing that I've been taught to like. On a very different level, the community exists, the politics exists, I understand. But you go through the phases of I like boys. Do I like boys? Maybe I like girls. Maybe I like girls a little bit. What does it mean to like girls? What does it mean to be a girl? And then you sort of work through all of this. But very simply, I knew people were out there. I knew there was activism out there. I knew there were other young people like me. I just didn't know where. And how do you begin to look for these people when you don't have them in your immediate vicinity? And how do you look for these people when there is no visibility? And Delhi did not have much visibility then. It's improving now, but even now, as somebody who can, as a legal adult, go and look for people and try to locate places, even then, with social networking and all, there is no visibility. And I would say the experiences and the people I've found have been through sheer effort. And how many people have the gall to do that, or the chance to do that, or the strength to do that, or the good fortune to do that, or a family that will let you do that? So locating an LGBTQ community, I knew they were there. I just didn't know where they were in relation to me.
When I was young, pretty young, like 14, 15 years old, I had a relationship with someone, a transgender person, female to male. Initially, my family saw it as just a friendship, obviously, like because they always considered him, I mean at that point her, like as a girl. So it's like a very close friendship, they were okay. Then after a point, they realized it's not okay, there's something between them because I was so attached to this person. And then what happened, like my family, they tried to convince me, like in various ways. There used to be fights at home, and they took me to the astrologer, they took me to the doctors and trying to cure me. And it was causing so much of stress. I mean, this relationship started in 1990. So, and after that there was so much of stress and I was so depressed because of this. I mean, and I was also kind of convinced that it's not right. There was something wrong in it. And at some point I felt, yeah, maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. And at that point I never realized that I never thought of myself as a lesbian. It was just feelings. It was just feelings with a lot of guilt in it. And when I was coming out, and I was like coming out to myself, I would say, and finally realized I'm a lesbian. I mean, emailed her, okay, you know I'm a lesbian. Finally I realized that. She got very upset. If I became a lesbian, then automatically she also became a woman, a girl, so which obviously she never identified herself as. So in her mind, it was always a heterosexual relationship.
As a person who first started coming out, I could not find people to look up to. I could not find people in my real life who were gay or people I knew who identified as queer. To get up, read a newspaper, go to college, come back home, watch TV. In that course of normal routine, my first brush at it when the Pride happened in 2008. I could see it in the newspaper, it fit into my regular schedule, and I think that was the first thing which prompted me to go out and look for stuff.
Initially it was, for me, it was like South Asian lesbian, it's not possible. I mean, it doesn't happen. I mean, all women, all South Asian women needs to get married to a man. I mean, that's how I thought. I mean, I absolutely had no clue that the other thing is possible. There's a possibility of having a different kind of life.
जहाँ में बावरा एक साथ हो, इस सयानी भीड़ में बस हाथों में तेरा हाथ हो, बावरी सी
You know, sometimes activism on the street, it's like we don't connect to it that much. We see it on the newspaper, we see it on the TV, but it's like we see it as just a news, like something that's happening everywhere, but it's not at a personal level. We cannot connect to it. I mean, it would have really helped if I had known other out people who are living a happy life.
चला एक सपना, बावरा मन देखने, चला एक सपना.
फ्रेंड आई थी नेदरलैंड से, तो उन्होंने हमें साकेत में बुलाया, पीवीआर साकेत में, बोला कि वहाँ पे तो बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग हैं, तुम्हें मिल जाएंगे, कि भले तुम नहीं जानते हो लेकिन फिर भी तुम्हें देख कर पता चल जाएगा. तो मुझे यही लगता था, देख के कैसे पता चल जाता है कि कौन गया है. जब तक हमने उन लोगों को देखा नहीं था तब तक मुझे लग रहा था कि पता नहीं कैसे लोग होंगे, क्या होगा, शायद बड़ा बड़ा टैटू बनाया होगा और कान में कहीं कान में कुछ छेद किया होगा, कहीं नाक में कुछ पहना हुआ होगा, या कपड़े कुछ अजीब से पहने होंगे, तो वही लोग होंगे शायद. लेकिन जब पहुँचे और जब और लोगों को देखा तो लगा कि यार ये तो हमारे जैसे ही हैं. एकदम हम जैसे ही लोग हैं. तो उनसे जब बात करी तो उन लोगों ने मुझसे अपने आप पूछा कि हम तुम्हें क्या कह के बुलाएं. पहले तो चीज़ों को समझना कि उसका मतलब क्या है. लेस्बियन है तो लेस्बियन का क्या मतलब है, फेम बोल रहा है अगर कोई तो फेमिनिन का क्या मतलब है, और अगर कोई बुच बोल रहा है तो बुच का क्या मतलब है, और ट्रांस है तो ट्रांस का क्या मतलब है. क्योंकि उस समय लगता था इन सब के लिए बस एक ही नाम है, लेस्बियंस. ये सब लोग जो लड़कियां इस तरह का फील करती हैं, फिर चाहे वो कैसे भी दिखती हो, वो सब लेस्बियंस ही होते हैं. तो मुझे अपने आप को ऐसा कोई एक बॉक्स में नहीं डालना है जहाँ पे मैं हमेशा ये सोचूं कि ओ ये काम तो केवल आदमी करता है इसलिए मैं ना करूं, या ये काम केवल औरत करती है इसलिए ये काम मैं ना करूं. मुझे सब कुछ करना है और मुझे हर जगह पर अपने आप को कंफर्टेबल फील करवाना है. इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि मैं एक जेंडर क्वेयर पर्सन हूँ और मेरे लिए वही एक कंफर्टेबल जोन है.
It was a journalist who told me that, who was trying to say that basically, as in terms of how women should look, that I am quite ugly to men. Because if I dress like this and if I cut my hair like this, then men are not going to find me attractive. And that is the problem. That if I were to just recognize that apparently my face is very suitable for bindi. He was a journalist. And it was in Delhi, in fact, in Gulmohar Park. That if I recognize that, my features are very suitable for things like bindis, then I would not need to be a lesbian, because then men would be attracted to me. And especially after Fire, a couple of Delhi journalists were harrying me and other people they were speaking to do a lesbian scene for their camera. Whatever, as part of the interview about Fire and Shiv Sena and rights and whatnot, that can you just kiss? Yeah.
And I posted on a Facebook group that usually just re-spams things. And I said, does anyone want to get a cup of coffee and just talk about the implications for this particular community about the increasing dialogue about gendered violence? And somebody found me. And they said, we're thinking of getting a group of us together to just discuss, just hang out and figure out what people want, need. So I went wearing my running shoes because I didn't know what the meeting would be like or if I would need to get out of it. And it was just, nobody knew why they were there. But it was a group from, say, the ages of 23 to mid-30s who were just looking for somebody else to talk to. And it was very much word of mouth. I know one person, this person knows one person, let's try and get together, see how many people we can meet. And we decided not to have like an agenda, because you just need people from your community to talk to. You need somebody to acknowledge that you are here, and the other person needs you to acknowledge that they are there too. And I think it's been very successful in that it has illuminated for all of us that firstly, we are out there, and secondly, we are very different people. We have similar concerns and we have different concerns, and the only way we can work on these, or the only way we can express them, or the only way we can seek comfort as individuals is if we have the ability to say, you want to meet for a cup of coffee?
I don't see myself as a conventional activist. And you have to take up this everyday activism that you have with people, to your sense. This is the kind of everyday activism that I think we all are capable of. I just feel that being out only has to do with your level of comfort, so that you don't feel restricted as a person, so that you don't feel this constant weight on you that you are hiding something. There's no one point in life where you can say you are completely out. You go to new places and you feel like you have to do it all over again.
Activism for me would mean more like being out on Facebook. It's firstly saying, okay, this is who I am. I'm not ashamed of myself. Accept me as it is. I mean, and it's also like saying, okay, if you can post your family pictures and what you're doing with your husband, I can also post what I'm doing with my girlfriend. I guess that is more kind of the activism that I look at. I mean, it's not only on Facebook. I mean, otherwise also when I'm in a group of friends, I mean, they start talking about their husbands, and I mean, if it's okay to say your husband dropping you off or your boyfriend dropping you off, it's also okay for me to say my girlfriend dropping me off. There's nothing wrong in it. I mean, if you don't like it, then that's your problem. I'm going to say it as it is. And it's like living a life, not like saying, okay, here I am, I'm a lesbian, but that's my reality. I have a female partner, so that is how it is. I mean, don't try to ignore that part. That's a huge part of me. I'm not just a divorced woman. I mean, this is who I am. So
I came to Delhi, and in hardly a week, 10 days, Delhi Shiv Sena attacked the cinemas, and what was amazing at that time was the response from so many people beyond lesbians in Delhi. And as someone who had come from Bombay, I mean, I knew some queer women in Delhi, some. But I went to Regal Cinema for the protest, and there were 200 people on the road screaming and shouting. And I remember, I think back now 15 years later, how many of those people have and continue to play, you know, roles in their respective movements. So our agenda at that time was to try to create visibility so that more women can find out about us and be in touch with us. I mean, you would still meet people just because they were gay or lesbian उस ज़माने में. In those were quite early years, Sri Sangam organized this amazing retreat in Bombay. that was another life-changing experience for many people, because that is the first time we really, I mean, we knew, of course, that in Delhi there is so-and-so and Kolkata is so-and-so, but for the first time everybody was together and you there, that was your national lesbian movement, at that little beach in Aksa. And we don't, a lot of us have nothing in common anymore, especially politically. But we share that certain bond because of that. Because of knowing what it was like to be, in a sense, really the only ones.
एक हद तक मतलब मैं अपने आप को एक प्रॉपर एक्टिविस्ट तो नहीं कहूँगी, क्योंकि मेरी नज़र में एक्टिविज़म बहुत एक अलग मायने रखता है। एक्टिविज़म करना एक हर इंसान की बस की बात भी नहीं है। जिस लेवल तक मैं अपनी तरफ से सोसाइटी को या अपने आसपास के लोगों को जितना बदल सकने, अच्छे मायनों में, सही मायनों में, जितना जो मुझे लगता है कि ये सही है और बाकी लोगों के लिए भी समझ में वो सही है, तो उतना तो मैंने किया है एक्टिविज़म। अपने सोशल जो हमारी रोज़मर्रा की जो ज़िंदगी है उसमें जितनी बदलाव कर सकते हैं वो तो हम कोशिश करते हैं कि बदलें। जब मैंने पहली बार किसी के साथ फिज़िकली कुछ किया तो उसके बाद मुझे बहुत ख़राब लगा था अपने ऊपर। मुझे बहुत गुस्सा आया था और बहुत शर्म आई थी। मुझे लगा था कि ये सब जो मैंने किया वो शायद गलत था, मुझे ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था, मुझ में ही शायद कोई बीमारी है। क्योंकि एक सो कॉल्ड नॉर्मल जिसको हम सोसाइटी हमारी कहती एक आदमी और एक औरत ही सेक्स कर सकते हैं, या सेक्स केवल बच्चे पैदा करने के लिए और वंश को, सो कॉल्ड वंश को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए किया जाता है, ये सब। तब बहुत डर लगता था कि हम ऐसा कैसे कर सकते हैं, हो सकता है हमारे साथ कुछ हिंसा हो जाए या हमें कोई पकड़ के जेल में डाल दे कि तुमने ऐसा क्यों किया, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था। तो उस टाइम पे ये लगता था कि शायद कभी एक ऐसा टाइम भी आएगा जब कुछ अच्छा हो सकता है, या शायद जब और लोगों से मिले तो लगा कि बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हैं जो इस बारे में काम कर रहे हैं, इसके ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं, और कुछ एक ऐसी सोसाइटी है जो उन लोगों को सपोर्ट भी करती है।
There is already a timeline of sort of a queer historic timeline which starts in 1900 and ends in the present moment. Come and add events to it. So this is a work in progress, and it's also a collective work in progress. So all of us have to populate this timeline. Come and add whatever event you think is significant in your own queer lives, right? Okay.
The notion of equality in the Indian Constitution flows from the objective resolution moved by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru on December 13, 1946. Nehru, in his speech moving this resolution, wished that the House should consider the resolution not in a spirit of narrow legal wording, but rather look at the spirit behind that resolution. He said, "Words are magic things often enough, but even the magic of words sometimes cannot convey the magic of the human spirit and of a nation's passion." The resolution seeks very feebly to tell the world of what we had thought or dreamt of so long and what we now hope to achieve in the near future. If there is one constitutional tenet that can be said to be underlying theme of the Indian Constitution, it is that of inclusiveness. This court believes that Indian Constitution reflects this value deeply ingrained in Indian society, nurtured over several generations. The inclusiveness that Indian society traditionally displayed literally in every aspect of life is manifest in recognizing a role in society for everyone. Those perceived by the majority as deviants or different are not on that score excluded or ostracized. Where society can display inclusiveness and understanding, such persons can be assured of a life of dignity and non-discrimination. This was the spirit behind the resolution of which Nehru spoke so passionately. In our view, Indian constitutional law does not permit the statutory criminal law to be held captive by the popular misconceptions of who the LGBTs are. It cannot be forgotten that discrimination is antithesis of equality and that it is the recognition of equality which will foster the dignity of every individual.
More than the law itself, I think it's got a lot to do with the atmosphere that the law created and the judgment against it created. As I still say, I don't think that the law really affects me to a very personal level, but the sense of achievement and the sense of joy that people had that they stood up against something like this and court finally ruled in their favor, it was something that changed how people related to it. It changed how I felt because I felt better. For some reason, I just felt better being like I was in 2009 and people were protesting against this thing, and now in 2010, I'm a part of the same pride and I'm not wearing a mask. To be able to see that change happening is very empowering in itself.
There was just a different confidence because of the language. I think it is not just simply that we won the case. It is the language that the judges chose. It condemned the way that society has made LGBT people deviant because it said that the power of the human spirit at the end of the day has to triumph. Because the court spoke to all of these people, to you, to me, to everybody, and said that, it's just wrong. Whatever has been done to you, whatever you have been told is wrong. That is what the judgment was about. Apart from the fact that, it decriminalized consensual same sex for all Indians, even heteros. Consensual sex of all kinds, but it was something much more than that for the community. It was just being told by this very powerful court that that we are on your side, and that we think that the fact that you have been called deviant is wrong, and that the fact that society and its expectations and religion-driven mores is wrong, and you have a right to just be whatever you want to be. I think that is what that is really what underlined this new confidence that I saw in people.
Walking down the street, I was wearing this shirt. I had already messed around with my eyebrows a bit. And while I was walking around trying to find this place, people were already a little confused. And for me, it's entertaining to watch them try and figure out what is going on, or what is awry, or what is askew. I think it would be a great social experiment. I would love to do it. I am worried about feeling isolated, but maybe that's part of the process. I think on one hand, it would be a really fun game to play. And on the other hand, it might be very frightening because you'd feel so watched. I think every woman or non-immediately identifiable as male person that walks down the street is isolated. Isolated in that they are put in a box and consistently watched. Yes, I'm used to sticking out like a sore thumb, but there is sticking out this much from the norm, and then there is really pulling it to see what would happen. Of course, I think it might be amusing to stand and watch people watch you and not know what to make of it. It's also dealing with the reality that you have a body that confuses people, and that it's also a process of. I think it could also be incredibly depressing. And I think it oscillates back and forth between being this like fascinating insight into the way other people really get jarred when they can't wrap their heads around a body or an identity or a person, and this feeling of being like the freak. I become the drag kid, so I'm the one that does drag, or the lesbian that does drag, and it becomes something that's like, all right, that's the thing she's known for. I think queer communities here have not had the opportunity or the space to be able to talk about gender identity and gender performance. I will use mascara on my upper lip as much as I will use it on my eyelashes. And I think for me, it was very liberating to be able to do that. Again, I have very critical notions about the idea of what it means to be in drag, because I am not mimicking the opposite of what my gender identity is. I am not trying to imitate the box, you know, the box that is opposite the box of female, feminine, but it's drag king is what it is identified as. I'm still trying to figure out where I stand in that, but what it has given me is the opportunity to see how these social cues of masculinity and femininity act out on my body. And my interaction with drag, my interaction with theater, with performance, is very much one where I'm aware that my body has certain masculine cues and certain feminine cues, and I can play around with them, and I can stress one, I can stress the other, and I'm very comfortable doing that. And I'm very comfortable doing that by virtue of doing it in theater and understanding myself through theater. And theater has given me the ability to also see these things in social situations, or the way, you know, how am I going to cross my legs? How much space am I going to take up? And all of these things, taking up space, movement, these are very, very gendered categories, and very, very limited gendered categories depending on what people have decided is between your legs.
I moved to Chicago kind of permanently in middle of 2005. And after that, people started pressurizing me that you should have a kid. Then when I gradually started realizing it, like, it was very painful. It was very painful for me. I mean, I went deep into depression and became very suicidal, very depressed. I mean, for me, it was more like my whole life, how I have planned till then, it's falling apart. I mean, I didn't know what am I going to, I mean, I never thought of a different lifestyle, you know. I never thought of anything else other than being married to a man. And at that point, I didn't even work. I wasn't financially independent. And that's how it started. I mean, and it took me quite some time, a couple of years, to come to terms with my own sexuality. I mean, understanding myself, like, this is who I am, and it's okay to be who I am, and there are problems, and we have to think of sorting those problems out. It took me like a couple of years just to, when I told Tapo and actually moving out. I'm really glad, like, to have Tapo by my side. I mean, we planned it gradually, like with my therapist, we went for couple sessions. I mean, he actually helped me a lot with it.
while I was in college, I still felt that there should be the need of a square space which was not, which probably may not be campus specific, but at least if there were n number of queer students battling with the same issues in n number of campuses, why don't we all come together and build a space where we can talk about our issues? So I knew of 1 or 2 people who were studying in other colleges who were gay. I started talking to them, and then we started feeling that if we could just come up with an online space and start a sort of discussion on queer student issues, that we could do that and see where it went. So we started that space, and we also had fortnightly offline meetings, and that was how I think I opened up to experiences and to spaces which appealed to me, even though they were not related to my engineering college or my background. But I came across a lot of other engineering graduates who were in their campuses making their own set of efforts to build relationships with people where they could come out, and they came to this online space or the offline meetings that we had, and they talked about their own issues, their own coming out stories, and that resonated a lot with me. And I think as time goes on, I will play my part on making any space, this space or probably other spaces that I will be a part of in future, making them mixed spaces where women participate and spaces which respect privacy but at the same time are public enough for you to access.
In August, when we told them, what we told them was see, our marriage isn't working. That's mainly because we are not exactly in a husband-wife relationship. I mean, that was they tried to know why or what. I said, he's my best friend. We got married because we thought that's how it's supposed to be, but then we realized no, we didn't have a husband-wife kind of a relationship. So they understood, okay, so that does it mean you are for them it was difficult to understand, two people living together, getting married, living together, a man and a woman more or less of the same age. How can't they be husband-wife? So we tried to explain, we are like a brother-sister relationship. So they, that's what they got initially, but later on, when my in-laws, my ex-in-laws, by that time we got divorced, my ex-in-laws visited me in Delhi. So they came here and stayed with me for a few weeks, and that's when they got to know about my sexuality. Actually, my mother-in-law, she is, she reads a lot and she has this thing. So I have lots of books on sexuality at my house, and so she went through my books, and I didn't think of hiding them when they were coming. So it was all out there on my bookshelf. And there was, among all the sexuality books in English, there was this one book in Bengali, Sappho's Chi Tuminaki. So she read that book cover to cover and then asked me some questions. So that's how I came out to her. And after I told her, because she has read the book and she reads a lot, otherwise also, I think she understood. Even though I was their daughter-in-law, ex-daughter-in-law, and then she said, whatever it is, you will always be like our daughter.
We have created something in Delhi that is fantastic, but we have lost something on the way, which is that we have forgotten that, I think about fire and I think about those two women in Lajpat Nagar, and the thing that upsets me is I think that they are still there. They are still there in Lajpat Nagar, and they are still there in Palam Vihar and all these places, and they're still really isolated.
I think as long as I reach a stage where I am comfortable in life, where I'm done with my studies, where I am independent financially and in terms of my career. When I'm out to my family, at least to my parents, like not, someone read my diary sort of stuff, but completely and, with their conscious knowledge. When I've reached that stage, probably then I can say that I don't mind my name being used in the press, or maybe I'll be more okay with my markers being public.
I was once thrown out of a dining hall because they thought I was a guy. And in my college, they were just like, "Are you here with your girlfriend?" And I said, "Well, yes. Where is she?" "Not certain." "All right, get out." And I was just like, wait. I'm a student here at Wellesley. This is my ID card. And the person was like, "No, you're not." And so I came back the next day in like a really long skirt and said, "You remember the guy you kicked out? That's fun." And the dining hall worker was thoroughly confused, but that was great.
When I was young, I had this dream that, I would grow up to be a superhero. I never knew how that would materialize, but I always thought I would be a superhero, something between a Batman and a Superman. I chose Superman because I could fly and I liked his dress, and I chose Batman because he was also a rich businessman. So I always had that dream that, it's, I think, also got a lot to do with because I as a person believe in reaching out and making that difference wherever I can. So talking of that superhero fantasy in realistic terms has a lot to do with that nature of mine, that I really want to make a difference to things in whatever ways I can. But as a child, my dream was to be a superhero. And as you said, that now I am sort of living the dream, because superheroes are never very public with their markers, but then they go out and do what has to be done.
My divorce happened in November 2011, and the day, he had applied for the divorce and I wasn't present there, so it got signed. I didn't appear. So after the divorce paper, like the judge signed it and everything happened, Tapo got very excited while coming back from the court. He called me up and said, "You know what, who signed our divorce papers?" Like what? It was our divorce papers were signed by the first openly lesbian judge in the state of Illinois. So, and Nancy Katz, she was like, and she's a long time feminist. She has been part of the women's movement there, and it's like, he was so excited about the whole fact that this divorce, which was because of me, because the divorce happened because of the sexuality thing, was signed by someone like her. So.
मुझे कभी पहले तो कभी ऐसी ज़रूरत ही कभी महसूस नहीं हुई अभी तक कि मैं जाके उनको ज़बरदस्ती उनके मुंह पे ये बोलूं कि मैं ऐसा हूं, क्योंकि मुझे नहीं लगता कि वो बोलने से भी मुझे कुछ फ़ायदा होगा या कुछ नुकसान होगा। तो जब उससे कुछ फ़ायदा या नुकसान ही नहीं, तो उस चीज़ को बोलने से क्या फ़ायदा है। और एक हद तक मेरे पहनावे से शायद उनके मन में ये बात है, लेकिन शायद वो एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना चाहते हैं। चीज़ों को समझदारी से और शांति से हैंडल करना है। मैं क्यों ज़बरदस्ती अपना पेशेंस लूज़ करूं या किसी भी इमोशनल उसमें आके कह दूंगी नहीं मैं तो लेस्बियन हूँ या मैं तो बुच हूँ या मैं तो गे हूँ, तो मुझे ऐसा कुछ हक दो स्पेशल, वो सब तो मिलना नहीं। वॉट इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर मी इज़ कि मुझे मेरी पहचान अब पता चल गई है, वो मेरे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा ज़रूरी था। मुझे अपनी जगह अपने लिए कहाँ पे कैसे बनानी है वो मुझे अब आ गया है, बस वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है मेरे लिए।
ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਮਿਟਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਗਲੀ ਦੇ ਮੱਥੇ ਤੇ ਲੱਗਾ ਗਲੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹਟਾਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਸੜਕ ਦੀ ਦਿਸ਼ਾ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਪੂੰਝ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲੱਭਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਹਰ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੀ, ਹਰ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੀ, ਹਰ ਗਲੀ ਦਾ ਬੂਹਾ ਠਕੋਰੋ। ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਸਰਾਪ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਵਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਸੁਤੰਤਰ ਰੂਹ ਦੀ ਝਲਕ ਪਵੇ समझना वो मेरा घर है।
बावरा सा हो अंधेरा, बावरी खामोशियाँ। बावरा सा हो अंधेरा, बावरी खामोशियाँ। थरथराती लौह मध्यम, बावरी मदहोशियाँ। बावरा एक घूंघटा चाहे, हौले हौले बिन बताए। बावरा एक घूंघटा चाहे, हौले हौले बिन बताए। बावरे से मुखड़े से सरकना, बावरा